And welcome to Las Vegas. The Consumer Electronics Show is held every year at the Las Vegas Convention Center. The Communicators is on site here doing interviews, looking at the most recent technology and talking with policymakers. Up next, we interviewed the chairman of the board of Mercedes-Benz about some of the technology used in their cars. Dieter Zetsche is the chairman of Daimler, which is the parent company of Mercedes-Benz, and he joins the Communicators here at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Dr. Zetsche, what's the technology that you're introducing?
Well, we're showing here the latest of connectivity in the car. We have on the one hand future directions we will take with the so-called dice. We show how with gestures you can interact with your car, when you can have in a swarm all the different aspects of connectivity, the social network, navigation, all kinds in this regard. On the other hand, we have stuff which is available right now. The new SL right behind me will come with MB Brace 2, which already starting now will offer our Mercedes customers here in the United States a combination of many services between again, navigation, all kinds of communication, information, as well as accident emergency support, all in one package and all coming standard with this car.
So, Dr. Zetsche, if somebody had a new Mercedes, would they be able to surf the internet, make a phone call, turn on their lights at home, etc., that type of thing?
Absolutely. You can surf the internet. What is special for us is that we connect through VPN connection, so private internet connection for all downloads and whatever you want to do, because we want that it's an access for you and not for everybody to your car. You can prepare your route at home and download it to your car for a special trip you are planning beyond your normal navigation capabilities. But again, you have the safety as well, that when something goes wrong, you have an accident, that immediately the emergency call goes out and renders you support.
Here in the United States, there's been some movement to prevent people from talking on their cell phones or etc. while driving. How does that affect the technology that Mercedes has developed?
I mean, that's of utmost importance. I guess that Mercedes is known for safety and for the responsibility we're taking for our customers, and we have to be concerned about driver distraction. That's why when the car is standing, you have full unlimited access to the internet, while when you're driving, you only get through our Mercedes-based server the connections which are responsibly acceptable while driving, and in a surface which is prepared by us, and again allows you to focus on the traffic and have one or two icons to show up and not a whole multitude which you can't control.
Dr. Zetsche, we talked earlier today with Hans Vestberg, the president of Execs out of Sweden. And one of the things he was talking about is technology that would allow a car to communicate with the car behind it, such as if you put on your brakes, it would tell the car behind it. Is that in our future?
Well, that's more or less in our presence. We are starting to provide these kind of systems. We are just now having a major test field in Germany with about 200 cars, which are totally interconnected. And it's not just driving, talking with the car behind you, but especially talking with the car in front of you, which can warn you of ice or whatever unsafe conditions you would approach and prevent you from going without the respective preparations into the situation. This allows you a much better navigation system where traffic jams are not, the information not provided by police or radio station always 5 minutes after you are stuck, but directly by the flow of the traffic, which creates this information, and online you're always up to date on where to go and what route to take. So these are not things for 5 or 10 years to come, but for this year, next year to come.
Now, your background is as an engineer. How involved do you get in the formation of some of these technologies?
But even though I'm by education electronic engineer, I do know that my kids know much more about these things than I do. And therefore, as far as the organization is concerned, it's extremely important that these things are not top-down driven through your company, but that you create an environment where your tech kids, which you have many in your company, which we have many in our company with 270,000 employees, that they get enabled and empowered to drive this process to make sure that we are ahead and not behind the competition.
Do you have to develop different standards for different nations?
We have, for instance, specifically this MB Brace 2 system as a US-based system. We have My Command in Europe to some extent because some service providers are different. Still some habits are different or perhaps lack. For instance, in Europe, typically behind the US. Directionally, we want standardized cars, world cars, which are as much similar as possible. So to some extent, it's nothing else but being 3 years ahead of the development in the US versus other areas of the world.
Dieter Zetsche, what about voice commands? I know Mercedes, for the last several years, have had voice commands.
We are calling that Lingotronic, and we introduced that in '96. So before Google existed or Facebook existed, it was not perfect at that time. Today it's much better. It's adjusting to your accents. It's able to understand Southern American slang, and these other possibilities for interacting with your car, which are intuitive and normal. While in the past you had some words, keywords you had to use, we are more and more coming to the point where you can use your fluent normal language to interact with your vehicle, and that's another main development trend we have to follow, or lead better.
If someone were to buy a Mercedes today, with the changes in technology, would their technical features be out of date by next year?
Well, that's where we have to change and had to change as well. We have to have the same protocols where we can communicate with these devices, and we want to provide services which are similar and known to our customers. But other than that, we have to allow the development at a much faster speed of these consumer electronic devices to be accepted by our vehicles, and just by new software releases, which go again through our specific Mercedes servers, you get updated to the next level of technology on a frequent basis.
Does technology within the car itself, especially the communications technology we're talking about, does that drive car sales?
It's more and more one important feature customers are looking for. There are few customers who buy a vehicle exclusively because of safety or exclusively because of its looks, but it's a combination, and within this combination, this kind of technology becomes more and more important.
Dieter Zetsche, what's the importance of being at the Consumer Electronics Show as opposed to the auto show?
Well, I think just the combination of the digital world with the automotive world is creating tremendous amount of new opportunities, and you only can understand these opportunities and ultimately realize them as true features for your customers when you are just at the cutting edge of technology, and that's what's provided here. That's why we have our research department in Palo Alto since 16 years to be at the very early cradle of these new ideas, present and participating, and that's why I do believe that we are able to lead the automotive world among our peers into new tremendous opportunities for our customers.
Do you work with partners such as Google or et cetera?
We very much do so. We have, for instance, already 2 years ago, we had with the cooperation with Apple, a specific interaction with the iPhone in the smart, where we could access the code of the iPhone. We have just these days a new strategic agreement with Google, where we get some exclusive developments made up together. So as we are so much deep involved in technology, are doing basic research ourselves, not just relying on suppliers, we are an attractive partner to these tech companies to understand where the direction will be. going to.
And finally, Dr. Zecca, looking 10 years down the road, give us an idea, if you would, of what we may see.
Directionally, our vision of accident-free driving will become reality within this time frame. Based on that, we can provide even more access to the World Wide Web because driver distraction is not that critical anymore, because the car can take care of itself, basically. So in both directions, you will be, on the one hand, well protected in your car against any hazards, and at the same time totally connected, as you are more and more used in your lifestyle in other places than the car anyway.
What's the best part about your job?
Well, that it deals with cars and that are having a lot of fun in driving extremely exciting and fascinating cars as part of my job.
Do you get to test drive them?
I do. Every year I'm at 2 or 3 more day ride and drives, including the S typically, and I'm in our styling dome 40 times a year, so I'm deeply involved in the development of these vehicles.
Dieter Zecca is the chairman of Daimler, which is the parent company of Mercedes-Benz. We're at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And that was an interview we conducted with Dieter Zecca, who is the chairman of the board of Mercedes-Benz. We also talked with John Bucci, who is Senior Vice President of Technology for Toyota. Here's that interview. And now joining us on the Communicators is John Bucci, who is Toyota's Vice President for Advanced Technology. Mr. Bucci, what are you doing at the Consumer Electronics Show?
Well, we're following our year 1 anniversary of launching an all-new mobile technology we call InTune. And InTune is the ability to take off-board content, web-based content, and deliver it to the customer's cell phone. The customer then downloads an application, goes into the vehicle, pairs the cell phone with the in-vehicle hardware or display unit, and voila, it opens up several applications or apps that the consumer can then interact with safely in the vehicle using voice, steering wheel control, or remote touch. And they open various applications like Bing for local search, Pandora for internet radio, iHeart for internet radio, movietickets.com, and OpenTable. And the most important thing is we do it in a safe manner, fitting of a moving vehicle.
We'll start there. Tell us about the safety features, because there's a movement now by the NTSB to prevent cell phones from being used in cars, and here you're talking about essentially surfing the internet while driving.
Well, for us it's a curated environment, meaning we take a hand in designing the look and feel, what they call the HMI, the human-machine interface. So it's not quite surfing the internet. We actually design the content, font size, the depth of the menu, how far you can go into the application before you are actually locked out, or task time. So we measure all those things carefully so that it's fitting of, again, the moving vehicle environment. We're very, very cautious and very concerned and appreciate the aspect of safety.
Mr. Bucci, how available is InTune? Is it in all your cars now? Is it standard, or is it optional for all cars?
We just launched August of last year. It's available in the Prius V, the Camry, the Tacoma, and the 4Runner, and it will begin to proliferate through our lineup, but it's brand new.
Are you using a cloud-based system?
We are. All of the internet searches that we do, those applications I just mentioned, are essentially in the cloud, and we use natural language voice recognition to harness the ability to get the data to the vehicle and converse normally.
How long did that take to develop the voice technology?
We've been interacting with a company called VoiceBox to develop our in-vehicle conversational language voice for, it's about 3 years now, and it's taken even longer for them to get it to a maturity where it's right for the in-vehicle environment.
Are you finding that consumers expect technology in cars such as you're describing here?
They absolutely do. The consumer wants to interact with their own content on their own personal device the way they do normally, and it's a balancing act between being able to conduct all of your business with your handheld device versus what's safe. Customers are expecting this. Soon it'll be one of the top 3 purchase reasons for buying a new car. Things like quality, ride comfort, performance, even fuel economy will begin to take sort of a price of entry measure.
Mr. Bucci, when it comes to the phone systems in Toyotas, do you incorporate Bluetooth or do you use another system?
We do, it's Bluetooth. In fact, the whole purpose of InTune is pairing or linking the handset with the vehicle head unit using the Bluetooth technology. So that's an important standard for us.
What's the price line on an InTune product?
So InTune comes standard with vehicles enabled with the audio video or the audio equipment that comes with that particular model. So it's standard with particular models, and it's in the price of the car.
Is working with some of these technology companies that you work with, like you mentioned VoiceBox and Bluetooth, is it much like working with a tire manufacturer to get the right tires? I mean, it's another supplier to the Toyota product?
Yeah, great question. It's all about collaboration. In fact, there are two other suppliers we work with you wouldn't normally hear about, a company called UIE and TGT. They're initials, but they're smaller tech firms and software experts who help provide the secret sauce for InTune. And without that collaboration, we couldn't really be where we are today. So it's really important for a company like Toyota to reach out and embrace the tech community. It's their core competency. Our core competency is transportation.
Do you have different standards for different countries?
Well, I can speak for the U.S., and our standards are what our customers demand. So we want to deliver against what their demand is and work within the confines of driver distraction guidelines and the safety measures we have to fit here. There have been interests of some of our affiliates to perhaps export InTune, so it's raised my interest level to potentially license.
When it comes to connectivity in cars, is the U.S. ahead, behind, about the same as Europe or Asia, etc.?
My sense is we're ahead. We were maybe at parity with Asia for a while there, but I think we've catapulted ahead now. I think in Europe it's a little bit different. In Europe they're more concerned about e-call, the emergency call, which could be legislated. And I think we have a little bit more latitude here in Europe because of the different countries, cultures, and languages. Some of the connectivity challenges that we have here are exacerbated in Europe.
Now, as VP of Toyota, is that a U.S. VP?
It is.
Okay. You're based in Los Angeles, which
Correct.
often starts trends. And did the fact that this is all developing, all this technology is now developing, did it help to be in Southern California?
I think it did. Although the partners we've engaged in or with are from Seattle, Central California. Our engineering arm is in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Our parent company's in Japan. So it's really sort of a mashup of talent.
What's your background?
My background actually is in marketing and advertising, and I took a fork in the road and had an opportunity to work on the Toyota.com website when it was in its infancy, and that's how I got into technology. So I'm not an engineer, but I've learned enough. I know enough acronyms now to be dangerous.
When did Toyota.com get developed?
So it was about 1992 is when we launched.
And how many people visited the site in 1992? Do you know, or
we
compared
had
to today?
very infantile metrics at the time. It was difficult to gauge, but we went from 10,000, let's say, to 2 million within a couple years.
John Bucci, looking ahead, what kind of products, advancements will we see in car technology in the next 5-10 years?
I can talk about the connected vehicle, which is really our sweet spot, and what that's all about is our new EV, our RAV EV that's coming out in the summer, and our Prius plug-in. We have all new means of connecting with those vehicles to provide means of controlling them, like starting a charge or stopping a charge when you're not in the vehicle using a handset. We're also launching the new Lexus Inform application suite, which is just like InTune, but with Facebook Places and Yelp. And down the road, we have some more surprises coming. So I think it's really all about how this is integrated in the vehicle and how the customer can interact in a safe manner. That's the sweet spot, I think.
Can a driver post on Facebook while driving?
So in our application, it's a Facebook check-in, meaning if you've arrived somewhere, you can hit a soft key on the nav system and post to your wall or tag to your friends where you are. So it's almost like a safety thing in a way. So I know that my young daughter I'd like her to use that so I know where she's checking in.
And John Bucci, what about the issue of privacy and tracking of cars? Is that something that you've incorporated into your technology?
Well, we don't track the vehicles. We have a service provider that in our Safety Connect product that can locate a stolen vehicle and recover it, but the only way that that can be executed is if a police report is filed because of the reasons of privacy. So we respect customers' privacy, and we're very, very cautious about our data security. In fact, we have a third-party firm right now looking at our entire architecture to identify any links that may be of any concern. So customer privacy and data security is absolutely paramount for us.
The Communicators is at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas 2012. We've been talking with John Bucci, Vice President for Advanced Technology for Toyota. And now joining us in Las Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show is someone who's been on the Communicators in our Washington, D.C. studio, but Gautam Nagesh of the Hill newspaper. What have you seen at this show that's caught your eye?
Well, I think the biggest thing at the show this year is really 3D television. Right now, in fact, they're staging a boxing match for the benefit of the crowd in 3D that's being broadcast on ESPN. And really every television vendor here is showing some version of a TV that with or without glasses gives you a 3D image. And it's clear this is not the sort of 3D that you went to when you were a teenager in the movie theater. This is very advanced and it's really vivid.
Is it faddish?
You know, that's a fair question. I think it may be a little bit because 3D comes up every 5 to 10 years. People want to bring it back, but the technology right now is very advanced compared to what we've seen in the past.
Will it be advanced enough that people do not have to wear glasses and can see it anywhere in their living room?
Sony is showing a TV where it has 3D without the glasses. Most of the vendors are not, though, so I think that right now it's still something where you're going to need the glasses, you're going to need some sort of device.
What's the cost point of this in 2012?
I can't say across all manufacturers, but you're definitely seeing it come down towards where plasma and LCD TVs were a couple of years ago. I'm seeing them between $500 and $2,000 on average, so not cheap, but definitely less than before.
What else has caught your attention, Gautam?
Well, there's a lot of stuff here about tablets. A lot of manufacturers are jumping into smaller size tablets. They really want to get on that iPad, get some competition going for Apple, and there's room for entry at perhaps a lower price point or a smaller size.
Now, Gautam Nagesh, you told me earlier that you had attended a session with FCC Chair Julius Genachowski. What did you hear from him?
Well, Chairman Genachowski, unsurprisingly, is primarily concerned with spectrum, which is a huge concern here for the CEA. He really emphasized that they're trying to get this done and that he wants to see unlicensed spectrum as part of any package, which right now is not included in the bill that the House committee passed. So he really emphasized that unlicensed spectrum is crucial because it gives people who don't pay for spectrum the opportunity to develop new technologies like garage door openers or Wi-Fi, and we've seen some resistance from Republicans on that.
Why?
Basically, they say that in order to get the spectrum, we have to reclaim it from the broadcasters and auction it, and that's going to cost billions of dollars. So in their view, we shouldn't give it away for free once we paid all this money, taxpayer funds for it. With that being said, there's unlicensed Wi-Fi right now, and the FCC opened up some more when they did the digital TV transition. There's a lot of hope for that it's going to lead to new breakthroughs like Wi-Fi that can cover a whole city.
But again, why are the Republicans and the chairman is in support of more unlicensed spectrum, is that correct?
Yes, the chairman wants more unlicensed spectrum. Republicans feel that giving away the spectrum, which is essentially unlicensed use, would be counterproductive given the state of the national deficit when it could be sold for a fairly significant amount of money to wireless companies who need spectrum also.
What percentage of the spectrum is currently unlicensed?
I couldn't give you an exact percentage, but it's a very small percentage compared to the overall amount of spectrum that's out there.
And is there a shortage of unlicensed spectrum?
It's not a shortage, but the spectrum that's unlicensed right now is considered the lowest quality spectrum. It's really got a limited range. You know from a Wi-Fi network, if you have thick walls or a garage door opener, there's a lot of interference. Some of the spectrum that they're trying to free up for unlicensed use is much lower frequency, and so it can travel over greater distances and through barriers.
Gautam Nagesh, you're walking around here at the Consumer Electronics Show. What's the message that a lot of these manufacturers and developers are trying to get to policymakers?
Well, I think the number one message is that things are going well in the technology space, I think, especially when you're exposed to the broader economy. It's hard to find the sort of optimism that you see here at CES. I think, though, spectrum, wireless use is really the demand here because for the first 3 days of this conference, very few people were even able to use their cell phones. And while that's obviously an issue of the crowds here in Vegas, it's also an indication of the state of our wireless networks as a country. And so the spectrum crunch for wireless networks, it appears to be very real, and people want something done about it.
Okay, one more piece of technology that you're looking forward to seeing here at the Consumer Electronics Show.
Well, I've heard a lot of things about some of these new game consoles. PlayStation showing a handheld device. Nintendo's not here, but a friend of mine got a preview of their new Wii U. That's supposed to be amazing. So there's a lot of gaming breakthroughs that are really interesting.
I've noticed that Google and Facebook are not represented here at the show, nor is Apple.
Well, Apple traditionally doesn't come here. You do see some of the larger technology giants, they don't come here. A lot of the vendors here are really part of those Facebook, Google ecosystems, Apple, where they're producing products that are built on those platforms. But those companies, they have enough clout that they like to do product center events, and they can really get everyone to come to them.
Gautam Nagesh of The Hill here in Las Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show. And our Communicators series from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas continues next week. To watch this and past Communicators online, go to cspan.org/communicators.